here we are. Oh, you froze.
Well,
Bye,
readers,
Alan.
listeners, I have lost Erin. She is frozen.
Nope, here you are.
There you are.
Here you are.
Welcome back.
Yep. I lost you for a minute. My internet's been a little bitch today, so just a heads up.
Me and your internet have that in common.
You're not a little bitch.
You're right, I'm a big bitch.
The fic list, everybody.
Hey, we are back, and it's
Woo-hoo.
Not been 7 months.
Woohoo! It has not. It's only been 3 days.
For us, for you guys, it will have been closer to 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? That's a recording schedule we are trying to keep to.
I mean, if we do it right, then yeah. But like, why do we ever set such ideas for ourselves? I feel like it's a bad idea.
Because as we established earlier, we are young and naive and full of hope.
Yep. We are also garbage.
We are garbage. Well, I for sure am. You are not.
A little chicka over the A.
Little tilde.
Yep. I think you made the exact same commentary 2 episodes ago.
Did I like everything? I know I definitely always like to call it a tilde because that's what they call it in Spanish, a tilde.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the little squiggle one?
No, I don't know what the squiggle is actually.
I thought that was a tilde.
No, a tilde is the accent mark over a letter.
I believe you, and I'm not going to explain your own language back to you because I'm not going to be that white person.
That's hilarious. So then what are we talking about today, Erin, on our new one tag format?
In our one tag format today, we are talking about road trip fic.
Yes. Oh,
Ooh.
she loves a good road trip.
I love a road trip. It was harder to find a road trip fic that was like just sort of generally like a road trip, right? And normally I've read a lot of fics where a road trip is like a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this case, because I couldn't do more magician's fic for reasons that are entirely unnecessary to repeat, given that we discussed this in depth previously, but it's my own damn fault. Because I couldn't give you the magician's road trip fic that I really liked, I had to like go in search of a road trip. And I didn't remember or realize how often I just read fic where that's part of it, but it's not the like central thesis of it.
Yeah.
So finding that was really hard. We also did a thing that we didn't really talk about in previous discussions of the new season format, which is we decided that for every 4 fics that we send each other, one of those has to come from a fandom we haven't introduced yet. And what's really funny is that both of us chose road trip fic for the new fandom.
You know what, Erin? This is kind of funny because I don't know that I ever fully grasped that we had to choose one new fandom for every 4. So I was just trying really hard to find a new fandom, and I was like, oh, great, this is one. And if I could have found one for the other 3, I would have, except for the first one. The first one, I was like, we need to ease into it.
Are you?
But that's funny. I'm really glad that this just happened to work out.
Are you telling me that you forgot that rule and I could have let that rule die off in obscurity?
No. Like, if you had come to me with another magician's fic, I absolutely would have read you to filth. But
yeah, no, but like I knew that you remembered the no duplicating fandoms rule.
Yeah, and I thought as a general rule, I thought like generally we were talking about like, oh, we need to try to reintroduce new fandoms. But I didn't realize that we had set it as a rule, like every 4 episodes you have to come up with at least one. Because I would have been like, if I had been a different person, I might have been like, well, I couldn't find any for these 4, but like next 4 I'll get 2, you know? So I'm just glad it worked out.
I should have just not said anything.
It's too late now. It's on the public record.
It's on camera.
Fuck. Listeners, if you can go back like 2 minutes and just repeat that clip where Erin says this, I did this to myself. This applies here.
I did do this to myself. Well, anyway, we sent each other new fandoms this episode.
Huzzah!
Not a magician's fic to be found, motherfuckers. And, you know, it's cool. So, do you want to start, Alan?
Sure, with what you sent me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Erin has sent me Planning by, covertsubjugation. hang on, one more.
Uh-huh.
Covertsubjugation. Oh my God, why am I trying to put a K? There's a G. It's a G. Erin sent me Planning by Covertsubjugation.
Wow.
It is on Archive of Our Own, and it is a Hamilton fanfic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, oh God. So here's the summary for you, my friends. Better than you. You are all welcome to come stay with me in Virginia. Fight me. Comma, 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 comma. Is this a trap? The squad is finally on holiday. Now, if they only knew how to spend it. So, something I learned pretty quickly from reading this fanfic. Dear Lord, I just ate pizza. My diction's all over the place.
You've got cheese like lodged in your trachea.
Truly, every 2 seconds I have to try to duck away and be like. So what I've learned pretty quickly from starting to read this fic is that apparently I just don't know the Hamilton fandom very well.
Oh, Alan.
Like, I knew, like, and here's the thing. I've seen the bootleg. And I like graduated from high school and college, so in theory these are characters that have come up in my history classes. But
you work in a professional theater, Alan.
So here's my thing. When it came out, it was very much a thing of, I had this one friend who is lovely but gets so over exuberant about certain things, which is hilarious because I'm the same way, but he just goes to the max, and he went hard on Hamilton. And so I was like, I could not care less. So I didn't come to Hamilton until probably 2018 maybe, which is a full like 2-3 years after it like premiered. So yes, I've seen the bootleg, I've heard the soundtrack, and like I've in theory know about them from history classes, although my education system, it failed me. So
Yike. Okay.
Yeah, pretty. So here's what I have to work with, friends. I'll read you the first like 2 lines. So also I should mention this is technically a text fic. Like these are all told through text messages. So we have the group name, which is the Poly Squad. And then we've got like the contact names, which are Baguette Fucker, Disney God, Fight Me, and Get Your Own Dick with 2 C's. So now I was able to kind of contextualize some of these. I was like, Baguette Fucker, that's got to be Lafayette. Disney God, no fucking clue. Fight Me, I assume is Alexander, because that's basically the plot of Hamilton.
Yep.
And Get Your Own Dick, I have no clue. I have no clue who Disney God and Get Your Own Dick were.
Okay, Disney God is Hercules Mulligan.
Oh, duh. Yeah. They said that later on, and I was like, I don't remember who that one is.
Hercules Mulligan is my favorite.
Oops. Is he the one with the beanie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I think
There
that's
we
his
go.
character. Basically, he was a spy in the British Army. He was a tailor.
Oh, Hercules.
Yeah, he would like sneak messages in like hems of clothes and stuff. But
Why didn't they say that in Hamilton?
They did.
Well, why didn't they say it louder?
Oh my God. He also has the best like mic drop song where he's like, "My name is Hercules," like the whole thing where he's like, what is he? Oh my God, what is? I have to just play it for you. Or I just have to find it.
Okay, well, get ready for a long like bout of silence, or we'll cut those because copyright. I will say my only obsession with Hamilton came from, to no one's surprise, is the Schuyler sisters. Like, I know all of their songs by heart. Anyone else? No clue, except for the beginning and the last song.
Well, it's too late. And it's all copywritten anyway. But basically, Hercules Mulligan has like the dopest like verse.
Gotcha.
So good. So he's I love Hercules Mulligan.
That's awesome.
And then Get Your Own Dick, I think later in the fic is revealed to be John Lawrence, who in sort of the fandom life is very often paired with Alexander Hamilton.
John Lawrence, which one is that one?
He was the staunch abolitionist who was always talking about like, well, we need to end slavery while we're in this revolution, and he was in real life too.
Yeah, so it's sorry, I know them by actors. I'm like, oh, that's the one that, what's his name? St. Anthony Ramos?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's great.
Cute. I ship it.
Yeah, as you should.
Although in this
pairing.
fic, the Poly Squad means that they are all in the relationship, right? The Baguette Fucker, the Disney God, Fight Me, and the Get Your Own Dick.
Yep.
Which is an interesting name for, considering it's a Poly Squad. Ayo. Just kidding.
Oh my God. I decided that I was going to send you just like, I know you're already confused by poly ships, so I was like, I'll just send something that is literally just like all Polly.
No, listen, I liked it. I was like, you know what? I like the idea of you cracking my chestnut open and just like exposing me to new things.
I dislike the way you phrased that, but I enjoy the sentiment behind it.
Yeah, I definitely thought about it after it came out of my mouth, and I'm like, well, it's out there now.
It has been said.
Yep. I am not taking it back. I said what I said.
Like Alexander Hamilton, you have said, fight me.
Truly. Yes, so this is a text fic, and there's not a lot of narrative to it. The majority of it stems from this poly relationship talking about like, oh, what are we going to do during the holidays? And someone being like, oh, I'm staying in school. I'm going to go home. Please, God, no. And then Hercules is like, do you want to go on a holiday together? And John Lawrence being like, yes, please, anything. Just don't make me go home. So they start planning a trip and talked about how long to make it and where they want to go. So they end up going to Canada, to Niagara Falls specifically, for a few days, and then driving down to Florida and spending like a week or two, I think they said, in Disney. Mm-hmm. So that sounds exciting and like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like a very long road trip.
They said it's a 76-hour drive if they don't stop, which sounds
fucking kill me.
Awful.
Yeah, truly, you could not pay me enough.
Yeah.
So Hercules is now planning this road trip, and we get a separate little text conversation with him and John Lawrence, where he asks, "Hey, so we're passing through South Carolina. I'm like planning where we're gonna like sleep and stuff. So I know we're passing through there." And John Lawrence is like, "Are you asking if we could stay in my house?" No, I don't like my family and don't really want to stay for them even for a day. And my dad doesn't know I am gay or dating, let alone dating 3 people all at once, which is like, okay, yeah, fair.
Very often in Hamilton fan fiction, I believe real Lawrence, like John Lawrence, had a complicated relationship with his father, and fandom has interpreted that to be, I mean, of course, because they almost always end up shipping him with Alexander Hamilton, that he ends up being homophobic in some way, or it's just a complicated relationship in that setting. So that was very much following in sort of a fanon decision-making thing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, especially it's interesting because when you told me that he was like a big figure in abolitionist history, it automatically made sense. I'm like, oh, so he was like a black sheep in his family.
Yeah, so I don't know too much about the historical context other than from what I've learned because of the musical and then through sort of like my understanding.
So through these conversations, we find out that Hercules is realizing just how much fucking money it's going to be like to do this road trip, because you got to pay for gas and you got to pay for like hotels to sleep, and then like Disney's not fucking cheap, as we all know. So they're like, well, what are we going to do? Cut to the Skylar's GC, as it's called, group chat, if anyone needs help. So the contact names are Angel, Eliza, and Peggy, and it drives me up a fucking wall that Angelica is not just Angelica, because it's like, well, Eliza and Peggy didn't get like a cool shortening of their name.
Eliza and Peggy have 5 letters to their name.
I guess, but I'm like, ugh. Fine.
And they made Angel 5 too.
Fine.
We also have an Angel in our lives. Hi, Angel.
Hi, Angel. If you're listening, we love you.
We miss you.
So then they're talking about like, well, what are we gonna go on holiday? Dad can't go because he's too busy. And they kind of have a conversation like, well, what would we even do? And Peggy's like, let's go to Disney World. And Eliza says, I kind of want to go to Canada, actually. And when Angelica asks why, Eliza says, I miss it, and Justin Trudeau is hot. To which Angelica replies, true.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. So they're talking about flying to Canada and then flying to Disney World. But Angelica says, isn't it cheaper to drive? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess so. But then we'll have to do the drive. Mm-hmm. Peggy's like, road trip, please. And apparently she's with, okay, so it's spelled Maria. Mm-hmm. But I think this is during that time where everyone calls it Mariah.
Oh. Yeah.
Which I don't remember her last name, but I think is Hamilton's mistress, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Mariah Reynolds.
Thank you. So in this fic, Peggy and Mariah are dating, which is hilarious because in the production, the actress that plays Peggy plays Mariah. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, clever.
Yep.
So that's the decision. They're gonna drive. So I think they're flying to Canada and then driving down to Disney. Then we have this really interesting thing, which I guess you might tell me just now, or someone is going to be able to better contextualize for me, where we have a conversation to Thomas Jefferson, and his contact name is Thomas Jefferson with like less than /3, which, is a broken heart in emoji speak. Mm-hmm. And so someone is asking, are you going home for the holidays? And Thomas replies, yes, what's this about? Can't I just inquire about my ex who happens to live in the same state I do? And Jefferson responds, that's not what I said. Of fucking course you can. It's just a weird thing to ask out of the blue and we haven't talked in a while. And it's James. And James says, I'm regretting opening my mouth already. Bye, Thomas. Bye, James. Sad face. And I'm like, oh, why?
So I think that is a reference to James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, which is funny because James Madison is played by the same actor who plays Hercules Mulligan, and Thomas Jefferson is played by the same actor who plays Lafayette. And a lot of the time in fanfic, Jefferson and Madison end up together, and they're kind of like this really catty, bitchy couple.
Dear
because in the show they're
Lord
assholes.
in heaven. Okay, yeah. Cool.
There's a lot of fanon context here.
I can see that now.
Yeah, and I just really enjoyed sending this to you because I knew it wasn't going to make any fucking sense to you.
That seems to be your MO, truly. It's either shit I don't fucking understand or the magicians.
If I can't traumatize you with the magicians, then I'm going to make it as hard as possible for you, for you elsewise.
Yeah, that's fair. So then we cut to the group chat titled The Squad, which consists of Erin, Burr, Angelica, A. Maria, Baguette Fucker Better Than You, Disney God, Doja, Eliza, Fight Me, Get Your Own Dick, James Mad, and Peggy. And Peggy. The gist of this group chat is someone asking, so what's everyone's holiday plans? And the Poly Squad being like, oh, we're going to Niagara Falls for a few days and then driving down to Disney. And the Skylish is just being like, well, weird. Same. And so then they coordinate and they're like, well, I guess we can, why don't we just like make one giant group? Because then that's cheaper for everyone. And everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. And Erin Burr just keeps being like, I don't want to go. No, I don't like these people. And Theodosia being like, come on, I've never been to Canada before.
It'll be great.
Yeah, and Erin Burr being like, well, I guess we're going.
Yep.
And that's the whole fic. Mm-hmm. It was cute. Once I kind of managed to make heads or tails of who was whomst. And it's part of a series. Mm-hmm. This was part 1 of the road trip series.
Yeah.
Or part 34 of the infamous story of The Squad. Uh-huh. So I guess maybe there might be some backstory to that conversation with Thomas Jefferson and James Madison that I'm not privy to because I have not read the first 33 parts.
Yeah. There's 11 stories in this specific road trip series. So it goes on quite a long time.
Let me ask you, are they all in tech speak?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm a bitch for a good no, that's not the word. I'm a slut for a good like tech speak.
That wasn't a better word choice.
That's what I wanted.
Okay.
That's what I was aiming for.
Well, I don't condone your use of this word.
Why are you slut shaming me?
I am not slut shaming you.
That's
I'm
my kink.
You for
don't kink shame me.
Kink shaming is my kink. Oh my god, we are children of the internet.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember that? Is that a Vine?
I think it might be a Vine. I think it's like definitely on the older side of internet references in terms of like, it's probably at least 4 years old by now.
Yeah,
like it could have a college degree.
Children and their TikToks don't know what we're talking about.
What the fuck is a TikTok? I don't understand.
So TikTok is a minute-long video, and that's basically it.
That sucks. Vine was better.
It was definitely more creative, but it's fun. I kill a few hours on Vine. No, TikTok. Man, I miss Vine.
R.I.P. Vine.
R.I.P. Vine. Send us a tweet. Tweet us if you guys remember Vine.
Or if you watch all the Vine compilations on YouTube that exist.
Oh, so easy to fall down a hole.
Mm-hmm.
The best part is you can go back and look for my favorite Viners. And it's like all of blank's Vines. And you click on it, and then 15 minutes later, you're done because they're all 6 seconds.
Like, watch the entire Thomas Sanders Vineography in 6 minutes.
Yeah, basically. It's hilarious.
No, he's actually quite prolific on Vine, but beside the point. Anyway.
Yeah, but if you haven't seen a Vine, definitely look them up on YouTube. They live in perpetuity.
Yeah. We're old.
Yeah, really. Oh, God. This was fun. I enjoyed it. This was definitely more about planning a road trip and being on a road trip. But you know what? I don't mind a little bending of the rules, especially when we get a 2-for-1 with a text fic. 1,
as you know, I don't care for rules.
Yeah, truly.
2, it was this.
Except for the ones you set for yourself.
Right. And I am still bitter about it. 2, I decided that because I couldn't send you the magician's fic, this was how it was going to be. So.
I also really appreciate delving into a new fandom. It's always like really fun. I'm glad that you know something about the fandom because it gives me some context and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I do actually read other fic. Like that is a thing. It's just I've hyperfixated
Listeners,
on
look, go back an
about
episode and someone just get the clip of Erin saying, I mostly read Quelliot and that's still my life.
Yeah,
and
currently.
Paste it here.
But, you know, Quelliot's it was only like a year of Like,
Oh, truly, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember when we fell off that cliff because I was there right after you.
But if you think about it, like, I was reading fanfic before then, so I have all this other stuff to pull from.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I really enjoyed it. I thought this is very much a fic for people who know the canon. Like, I wouldn't recommend this to someone who is like, oh, I really enjoyed Hamilton. I would like to read more with these characters in it. Like, this is not a good intro to that. This is like a intermediate to like advanced level course. You want something that's more like a longer narrative, and like, you know, they flesh out the characters and you know who's who right off the gate, and you're not like, baguette fucker.
Okay.
Which one is that?
I had reasonable expectations that you would have more context for Hamilton than you do. I do not think it was unreasonable for me to be like, my theater friend Alan, who teaches the children and has definitely worked in a Hamilton camp at least once, like, should know who these people are.
Listen, I knew kind of. I did not know immediately, so that is definitely my bad.
Okay,
but I also feel like a lot of their attitudes and like their personality to me ring out more of a fanon than it does of a canon.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I would agree
that's
with
what
that.
I mean. I think that's more what I mean as far as like this would not be a good intro course for anyone, because like there's established relationships, established attitudes or characterizations that might be a little hard to understand. But this was definitely a fun read. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah, I would give this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I'll take it.
It was a good time. I knocked you down half a star because Angelica's name is just Angel.
How is that my fault?
I wasn't. First of all, this is not to you, Erin. I'm not giving you the stars. You did not write this.
I know I didn't. I did not write this.
Wait,
fic.
is this yours?
No, I did not write this fic.
Readers, listeners, one day it's going to happen. I will send Erin my secret fanfic on the same day she sends me her secret fanfic, and we're not going to know, and it will just coordinate kind of like it did today with new fandoms.
Yeah.
And we will implode.
I have good and bad news for you. The good news is I did write fan fiction. The bad news is I took it all off the internet.
Stop doing this to us. We want to read it.
Absolutely not. It was garbage.
If we start a Patreon,
no.
Guys, would you guys be patrons if Erin released some of her fanfic?
I will not whore
Just
myself.
a snippet. It's not whoring, it's providing a service.
Well, yeah, so is whoring.
Listen, Erin, don't you shame the
I'm
adult sex
saying
industry
that they are
workers.
perfectly legitimate workers who are providing a service that clearly has monetary value, and I do not wish to participate in that culture. That's not a thing that I want to do.
It's not the same culture. Anyway.
I dislike you immensely.
I'll wear her down someday, listeners.
No, you won't.
I
No,
will.
you
I
won't.
promise.
I live
For
in
you guys.
fear of the day that you send me your fanfic and then I eviscerate it, and then you're like, so my self-esteem is shattered. It's gonna be terrible. Our friendship is gonna end that day.
It's gonna be so great. It's just gonna be one little tear rolling down my eye.
I'm gonna realize it halfway through and be like, but it's also the greatest fan fiction I've ever read?
Right? Like, just really like a hard turn. Like, but that's what made it great, you know? Like, it's a satire.
It really pivoted in the back half. Pulitzer
That's so
Prize winning
funny.
prose here. Yeah.
Jeez, I gotta practice my acting because I'm gonna be trying not to laugh the whole fucking time. Yeah, so that was a good time. Good job, covet subjugation. Good job, covet subjugation. There we go.
Wow. We got there eventually.
Man. I struggled.
Yeah.
I was on the struggle bus.
It's okay. We're all on the struggle bus. I mean, it's quarantine. There is no such thing other than the struggle bus.
It's true.
Yep.
All right, Erin. So why don't we talk about what I sent you?
All right. You sent me... Ooh. It's called On a Dark Desert Highway... by Ragazza_Guasto. Best guess?
Sounds good to me.
It appears to be Italian. I don't know if I pronounced that right. This is a Sherlock fic. Ooh, new fandom. A fandom that I am already familiar with, so that was really helpful.
Thank God.
I did read a good amount of Sherlock. I watched the first 3 series of it, I think, up until Moriarty, the whole thing with Moriarty kind of played out. And then I was like, I'm done. Because I just love Andrew Scott so much that I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. And then also every episode of that show is like a full-on movie. So I was like, no,
oh, absolutely. It's like an hour and a half. This is where I admit I have never seen any Sherlock episode. I have read very limited Sherlock fanfic. My knowledge of Sherlock starts and begins with the fact that Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman play Sherlock and Watson.
You mean the Frumious Bandersnatch and the guy from The Hobbit?
Frumious Bandersnatch. My favorite one is what is it? Benedict Cucumber, something like that.
The Frumious Bandersnatch is obviously the best one. I don't know what you're talking about.
I just
You're
really
incorrect.
I just picture Benedict Cumberbatch's face on a cucumber, like Larry the cucumber.
Larry?
But just imagine that with like Benedict Cumberbatch's like deep voice and British accent.
Doing silly songs with Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. At some point, we should tell the listeners, maybe this is another Patreon thing, the story of how I made you listen to Veggietales in the car.
Yeah, truly, the Patreon thing's going to be just me singing Pepino Bailarin.
Pepino Bailarin. Pepino Bailarin.
Dance, King Cucumber. Dancing cucumber.
Dance, yeah. I love Veggietales.
You did this to me.
I'm so sorry. There's a certain joy that comes to having learned about Veggietales as like almost an adult, because I was full on like a senior in high school, so it hits different when you
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
especially because in high school I feel like everyone would like immediately jerk away from Veggietales, be like, ugh, no.
Oh,
because I feel like I was introduced to it by you like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and I was fully like as an adult and like confident in who I am. I'm like, oh yeah, I can love this unironically.
My friends and I in high school, this will shock no one, were not cool. So we didn't
Erin,
care.
please.
We didn't care.
Cut to Erin's high school friends being like, excuse me.
Elise and Chris are like, fuck you. We used to sit, so we were drama nerds, who surprised no one. We would sit in a hallway of my high school that we referred to as Sister Connie's hallway until they demolished it.
No.
Because that's where Sister Connie's classroom was, and Sister Connie didn't care how long we sat out in the hallway and bothered her because she was cool. And we would just hang out, and then we would literally like play cards and sing Veggietales and like dance out Veggietales, like act out Veggietales. We would write our own skits. We had a club called Other Club, because at the bottom of every list of club options there's always something that says other.
Oh
so
my
like, how funny would it
god.
be if we did Other Club?
Why are you like this?
I don't know.
You were in the cast of The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah, we were profoundly nerdy little fuckers. So that was when I learned about Veggietales, because I went to Catholic school, and I had gone to public school up until high school, and then I transferred to a Catholic school, and all my friends were like, oh yeah, Veggietales, and I was like, what is this? And they were like, you don't know what Veggietales is? And I'm like, no. And then they taught me the hairbrush song, and it was over.
And it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, and it was Barbara Manatee that really got me. I love Barbara Manatee. So we used to duet that all the time. Me and Elise would always
Give us a little taste of what Barbara Manatee sounds like.
Barbara Manatee, 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 you are the one for me, one for me, one for me. I really love Barbara Manatee.
Sign up on our Patreon to get the full version.
I know. I will do a full-on, like I have a whole dance for it where I attempt to be both characters, which is
amazing.
Fun. Anyway, back to the Sherlock fic that you sent me.
Back to Sherlock.
So the summary for this is different meet AU prompt. We're both on a road trip and keep running into each other at rest stops. What if instead of starting a blog, Ella had advised John to take a trip? What if at the same time Sherlock was tracing a drug cartel along the same route? What if Sherlock thought John was following him? What if John didn't mind seeing that gorgeous bloke every so often? Because damn. ... This person is a fan of the ellipses.
Yes.
Fine.
We love a good ellipses.
Yeah. So basically, this fic is what it says on the tin. Like, that's a pretty good summary. John is traveling, and he's going sort of like rest stop to rest stop. He keeps seeing this guy who is like this tall, beautiful stranger. It starts off where he's kind of like talking to this girl and kind of chatting her up, and then this guy walks past him, and he's just like, oh, hamana. And the girl's like, oh, you're gay, got it. Just like pieces out.
Yep.
And he's like, no. And so we just kind of like, oh, it's like, well, I guess that's not gonna happen. So he goes to the next rest stop, and he sees this guy walking around again, and it's like, oh, like, what is happening? I guess we're going along the same route. Like, I don't really understand what's happening. And they see each other 5 times. Mm-hmm. And it's starting to be like, John is like, wait, are you following me? Like, this is suspicious. Like, or are you somehow anticipating where I'm gonna be? Like, I don't understand. This is getting kind of creepy. And then, oh shit, I read this so long ago that I'm like, what the fuck happens in this fic?
They're eventually at a rest stop in the desert.
They're at a rest stop in the desert, and John is like hanging out, and he says out loud, "What if it rains?" And from behind, he just hears, "You're in the Mojave. Annual rainfall is about 5 inches. Therefore, I'm likely." And it's Sherlock. And that's the moment where John turns around and is like, "Well, fancy meeting you here." And Sherlock is, yeah, fancy that. And they have a confrontation because Sherlock is like, "Mycroft doesn't hire imbeciles, so you're not one of his, but who the fuck do you work for? Like, why are you following me?" And John's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, what are you, huh? And Sherlock is like, "Answer me!" And he's basically like holding him by like the throat. And John is like, "Wait, are you calling me stupid? Like, what's happening?" And Sherlock says, "You're not even smart enough to do a convincing accent." And John's like, "My accent isn't fake. I'm from Hampshire. What the fuck? Like, what is happening?"
My favorite part about that line in particular is it starts, "Oi! My accent isn't fake."
Really. This author did a pretty good job of translating or transcribing an English accent without it feeling too overdone. Sometimes when you're leaning into writing an accent, it can read as a little kitschy, and that didn't happen for me, which I thought was kind of great. So Sherlock and John sort of have a little tussle in the truest like fight sense of the word.
Yeah.
And then eventually John sort of like convinces Sherlock that he's not following him. And is this where I really don't remember what happens in this fic?
Jesus.
Sorry.
So they're in the middle of their fights and they're like trading like little jabs at each other, and John says, "Had enough yet?" And Sherlock says, "Never." And they're like fighting, and then out of the doorway they see a gun appear.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, "What?" And John immediately like just reacts and like grabs the gun, pulls the dude in, and like beats him up essentially. Mm-hmm. And then Sherlock is like, "Oh, you're not one of the bad guys. You're not one of Oliver's."
And John's like, yeah, not that I'm aware." So they basically spend the rest of the fic kind of dealing with this drug cartel and also kind of getting to know each other. So Sherlock then takes John under his wing and is like, "Okay, well, you got to come with me because now you're part of this." And
if you stay here, they will kill you.
Yeah, that's what's happening. So they get in Sherlock's car and go, and John's like, "I don't know what the fuck I'm doing getting in this car with you, but okay."
Wee.
So they go on ahead and they try to get out of the situation that they're in, but then they're like, "Well, they won't expect you to go back to your car, John's car, to pick up your stuff because only an idiot would do that, and I'm not an idiot," says Sherlock. "So cool." And then they go back to the car and they're waiting because only an idiot would go back to pick up their stuff from the car. So they get captured, and basically this whole time Sherlock is kind of poking and prodding at John the way that Sherlock does in the show, where it's like, at one point, they're talking and Sherlock is like, "Afghanistan or Iraq?" And John's like, "What?" "Oh, Afghanistan." They sort of have a conversation about what Afghanistan was like for John, and that comes from the show, if you're familiar, where John in the modern iteration of Sherlock is a war vet from Afghanistan, and he has a psychosomatic limp. He was injured in an IED explosion, but he actually is fine physically, but the trauma of that experience gives him a psychosomatic limp, and his therapist tells him that he needs to like start a journal or do something, and that's how he meets Sherlock. And in sort of the process of working with Sherlock, he loses the limp. He like regains some of that ability to function.
Aww, that's so sweet.
Yeah, so that was an interesting sort of way to like transcribe or translate that canon established relationship stuff in a new and sort of helpful way. Because Sherlock is like, "Well, your limp is obviously psychosomatic because you just beat the shit out of this guy and it went away the second you started fighting, so there's no way that it's not psychosomatic." And he was like, John's like, "Yeah, I know, but it's still like, it still hurts." So they have kind of conversations like that, and then eventually they are captured by the drug lords that Sherlock is hunting. And at what point do they hook up? Because they hook up.
So the thing is, they get captured by two, like the guy that they beat up earlier, and now like his like colleague, quote unquote. I don't know what else you call it. His fellow drug member. So they're captured and they're about to get like
his drug place proximity associate.
That I can't. There's no way in hell I'm gonna be able to repeat that. But yeah, they get captured by these two, and Sherlock, thinking quick on his feet so that they don't just like kill them there, is saying, "Oh, well, I was hired by this woman." Let me look for her name right quick. Oh, we should say right before they're captured, actually, like when they're having their cute little talks, John just kisses Sherlock, and Sherlock is like, what are you doing? You can't just kiss someone. And John's like, my bad.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I did not intend to be a jerk about this, but you're also very attractive.
Excuse me.
Excuse?
So, yes, the guy there that Sherlock is on. So then they get captured. And Sherlock bluffs, essentially saying, I was hired by Lillian. So tell Oliver that I have a message for him from Lillian. And so they like bind Sherlock and John with those like zip ties for handcuffs and whatnot. And they're calling Oliver, and Oliver's coming and whatnot. And while they get shoved in a car, and Sherlock is like, all right, in my shirt sleeve, like on the seam, there's like a little knife or something. And they cut themselves free while they're waiting. And as soon as Oliver comes, Sherlock makes an entrance by opening the door and be like, hello, it is I am untied.
As Sherlock is wont to do. The dramatic fucker.
Also, first of all, do you know if Oliver is a character in the show?
No idea. I don't remember.
All right, well.
I don't remember jack shit.
All I know is that he is, he's described as an honest-to-God real Mexican gangster, which, first of all, I was like, cool, yay, we just some Mexican representation going on, yay. And also,
listeners at home, you couldn't see Alan's face when that happened, but oh boy, was it fun.
Listen, I don't like these stereotypes, people.
No.
As much less when the Mexican gangster is named Oliver. Ask me how many Olivers I met in my life. Ask me, Erin.
How many?
0.
Wow.
There ain't no Mexican Olivers that I know of. Especially not that run Mexican cartels. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll let it go. The rest of it was good.
You're like, racism aside.
we put the thing in the box, and then we put the box away.
Yeah, the box is on the shelf.
We don't touch it.
Nope.
Yeah, so Oliver eventually comes and is like, you better not be lying about Lillian. And Sherlock is like, well, she asked me to deliver this message for you. That's why I was hunting you down. Go to this hotel and tomorrow morning, and she'll be there for a few hours. She wants to talk it out and not be friends and like get back together. And Oliver's like, all right, cool. Let him go. And so the henchmen are like, what? But fine. And so they release them. And John is like, oh, so you were working for hire for someone for like another drug thing. You're not one of the good guys. And then Sherlock said, well, I lied. It was bullshit. I'll call the cops and they'll be there to pick him up tomorrow at the hotel instead of her. So yay, all is solved. And then they stay at a hotel. And do you want to take over at any point?
Nah, you're doing great. And honestly, I enjoyed this fic, but I don't remember it. So you're doing great.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Mm-hmm. You are. I'm really grateful for you right now. So keep on trucking. I'm enjoying listening to your voice.
Great. So they go to a hotel, and John is pretty much like, I kissed this man, and I am very attracted to this man. I do not know what to do. And Sherlock is like, well, I'm going to go shower. And John's like, oh, okay. And so the thing is that first of all, the wall between the bathroom and the room that they're sharing, because it's a double room, is so thin apparently that he could hear like Sherlock moving in the shower. Mm-hmm. And so John gets a little excited and starts maybe like touching himself, imagining Sherlock in the shower. And then out of nowhere, Sherlock asks John for shampoo. And so John has to go and like give him shampoo and try not to look at him or whatnot. So then Sherlock comes out in nothing but like skin tight dove gray boxer briefs. So, then John goes to take his shower. He's like, I can't masturbate. The wall is too thin and Sherlock will know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And then what is it that he forgot?
His clothes. I remember that.
Yeah, he forgot to bring his change of clothes, and he's like, Sherlock, will you bring me my bag? And Sherlock is like, oh, I can't, I'm busy. And John is like, really, you're 2 feet from it, please just toss it. And Sherlock's like, no time, just come get it. And so John like wraps a towel around his waist and like goes out, and he sees that Sherlock is literally sitting right next to it's sitting on his bed, on John's bed, right next to John's bag, and is just waiting for him to come out. And he was like, you surprised me. And like, I fully expected you to put on your dirty clothes and then come out and get your bag. And so that's a cute little lead into like, oh, and then they bang.
They do. One thing that I think is interesting is that this is Sherlock's first time.
It is, yes.
Which is an interesting choice. I think one of the things that happens in this fandom a lot is that there is a tendency to either headcanon or write about Sherlock as asexual, which makes a lot of sense given the context of the show.
Sure.
And then also in fic becomes a very interesting question about this character to play with. So for this to be like his first time, I thought was an interesting, like that's most of the part that I remembered, was that it was sort of an interesting way to navigate what in some ways is like a hookup. Like it's basically a hookup.
Yeah.
But is also like very caring, and like John's not a jerk about it, but Sherlock kind of is like treating it like a logic puzzle almost. And he's very, very logical about it, and very like, I don't want to disappoint, but also like, so that was fellatio.
It's true.
And it's very on brand.
It's so good.
So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was one of the more interesting parts of the fic. The rest of it obviously didn't stick with me very much. Like I didn't.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, like it wasn't that it was bad. It was just that like I've read that story before, you know.
Sure.
It sort of fell into the background of things, but this sort of interaction resonated. I remembered it like it was sort of interesting.
One thing I will also like to throw out there is that kind of throughout the whole fic, John is kind of thinking, oh well, what happens when like this is over? I'm never gonna see him again, and like even though we both live in London, like there's no guarantee that he'll want to see me and so forth. And so the end of the fic is them cuddling and Sherlock just asking, when is your lease over?
Yeah.
And John asking, why do you ask? And Sherlock saying no reason. And I'm like, I live for it.
Yeah, really. So yeah. Thank you for carrying the weight of that episode. Of that tag.
I live to serve.
Do you?
I live to try my best to serve.
You live to attempt to serve.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Obviously, like, I enjoyed it. It wasn't that it was bad or that anything. It just, like I said, it was something that I've read before. Like, it wasn't necessarily breaking any molds for me. And I don't particularly care for Sherlock fic anymore. Like, it's not something that I like.
It's not Quelliot.
No.
If I went back and rewrote it as Quelliot, would you have cared more?
Probably not, actually. It was still good. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just sort of, unfortunately for my brain, a little forgettable. Except for that end scene, which was really good.
I think this is this kind of speaks well to, this is actually a really good example of what I was talking about before, which is, to me, this is a good beginner fic for someone who's trying to like crack open some of the fandom to get into this fandom. Like this would be good enough for you to like, you get a good sense of what their interactions would be and like characterization, but without being overwhelmed by, I don't know what the character's relationship to this other character is. And there's not, like, you can tell they're not shoving a ton of canon into the fic. So it's like a nice little introductory course, in my opinion, which I needed, because I was like, well, because again, I haven't seen any Sherlock. And so to me, this makes sense. But I also get it for where someone who is more familiar with the fandom and who does read as much fan fiction as you machine.
Thank you.
Where you would like, it would like, I've seen this before.
Yeah. So it was good. I think I would give this like a solid 3.
Nice.
It's like pretty much like dead center.
Middle of the road, if you will.
Yeah, middle of the road. Certainly if you are into Sherlock and Watson fanfic and you like a little bit of sort of like everything, like it's a very sort of like a little bit of everything fic.
Yeah, it's like a really quick, like it's a quick bite, like a quick rom-com.
So if that's your jam, then you will probably enjoy this. And so woohoo!
Sweet.
Yay!
We did it.
We did it. We did road trip, and it didn't go terribly.
Woo!
I was a little nervous about this tag because I thought it was going to go the same route as Diner.
Yeah, Diner and Cinderella, where we just like totally missed the mark.
Blind Date, not Cinderella.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
No, Cinderella is one.
Well, you fucked up Cinderella for me. I did okay with Cinderella, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Were those in the same episode? Is that what I'm getting confused?
Yes.
Yeah, Blind Dating and Cinderella.
But then you sent me a Cinderella that was Tom Riddle and Harry Potter, and I was like, we're not friends anymore.
Listen. Give it a shot.
I will not. That's a no TP. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye.
That's not the real end of this episode.
No.
What should people do now, Alan, that this episode is over? What's the next step for people who are listening and might enjoy the sound of our voice for some godforsaken reason?
I am so sorry. First steps, I think, would make sure you're subscribed. Follow the show so you always see when we put up new episodes. We're trying to be consistent. 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. We're hoping for the best.
Trying is key word here, friends.
Yeah, truly. And reach out to us. Let us know what you think of the show. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, any of those mediums. We will read it. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like, what are your thoughts on these fics if you have read them, and also give us your recommendations for any new tags or any new fandoms. We're trying our best, we are trying to explore different fandoms, but as you've seen, like it's a little hard when we have like a very base knowledge. Okay, when I have a very base knowledge, but we are trying our best, and it would be really cool if we could get ideas from you guys, because you guys have been out there and know more about it than me, presumably.
And me.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. There are people that read just as much as you, Erin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Until next time, our friends.
Goodbye.
That was a weird thing that I just said out loud.
Is there a Veggietales goodbye song we can sing?
No.
I've got nothing for you.
Okay.
Then, goodbye, guys. Until next time.
Bye.